all those lectures you gave me about staying on the straight and narrow. How does he do that?
What's better than seeing your favorite superhero go on amazing adventures? Well, how about doubling down and making them team up with each other? And in case you didn't know this already, DC Comics doesn't just come up with some of the most iconic characters to ever grace pop culture. The publisher is also responsible for creating the most recognizable superhero duos in the history of mainstream comics. You've got Batman and Supes forming the world's finest, Green Lantern and Green Arrow making up the brave and the bold. But what if we told you there's a new tandem in town that can go toe-to-toe with these classic duos? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video, boys and girls. Curious to find out who this new dynamic duo is? Well, keep watching, and you might just be shocked to discover what kind of adventures they get themselves into. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to get more of the best pop culture content from us here at KRTV Marvel. Enter the Terrifics. What happens when you put the DCU's immortal man of malleability with their universe's third smartest man? You get none other than the Terrifics, a superhero duo made up of Plastic Man and Michael Holt, aka Mr. Terrific. This recent pairing is, admittedly, one of the nicest surprises to have come out of the DCU in recent years. Who is Plastic Man? You could say that Plastic Man is one of the elder statesmen of superhero comics. To say that Plas is an underutilized character in the DCU though is a bit of an understatement. Don't let that wide grin and wisecracking demeanor fool you, because he's actually one of the most powerful characters in the DC pantheon. Aside from the obvious rubber-like abilities that allow him to stretch his limbs, Plastic Man is also one of the DCU's greatest shapeshifters, able to impersonate other characters right down to their vocal cords. Oh, and did we mention he's immortal and basically invulnerable? Because he totally is. Who is Mr. Terrific? Michael Holt, who goes by the superhero alter ego Mr. Terrific, is a relatively new character in the DCU, at least as opposed to his peers. Created in the mid-90s by comic mainstays John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake, Mr. Terrific is one of the few non-metahuman superheroes in the DCU. Basically, he's like Batman minus the cowl and the scowl. Simply put, Mr. Terrific is a billionaire genius who has the uncanny gift to learn anything he puts his mind to, pretty much on the fly. His primary tools of the trade are his T-spheres, metallic balls that float around him and can pretty much do anything, from allowing him to fly to projecting laser beams and shock bolts. How Plastic Man met Mr. Terrific. It all starts in the wake of the dark multiverse saga. After going on an epic adventure into a nightmarish alternate reality with other DC superheroes, Mr. Terrific returns to the mainline DCU to discover that his company, Holt Industries, tanked and was then acquired by their rival, Stagg Industries. Now, its head, Simon Stagg, isn't what you'd call a stand-up guy. He's shady to say the least. So, it was only a matter of time before Mr. Terrific found out that this grubby CEO was up to something. Even worse, he's using Holt Industries tech to do it. Like any good superhero, of course, Mr. Terrific decides to pay Stagg a visit in his clifftop suite. There, Stagg's main henchman, Java, greets Mr. T. The goon refuses to let him meet Stagg at first, but he reluctantly does so when Mr. Terrific reminds him that this isn't just about his assets. He has his suspicions that Stagg is doing something extremely dangerous. And Mr. Terrific was right, because he discovers Simon Stagg has been busy trying to reopen a portal to the dark multiverse out of his own curiosity. That's not all either. He's using Metamorpho, one of Mr. Terrific's allies, as a battery to power the portal. Of course, this doesn't sit well with Mr. T. It's one thing to mess with his friends, but to do it in a way that could endanger reality itself? That won't do at all. Mr. Terrific pressures Stagg into closing the portal. At this point, even Stagg's daughter, Sapphire, and Java agree with the superhero. But Stagg, in a rare moment of humility, admits that he doesn't know how to shut down the machine and close the portal. Here's the kicker too. The more the portal opens, the more rabid Metamorpho becomes, losing his mind from all the multiversal energy getting pumped through his body. With no other choice, Mr. Terrific uses one of his T-spheres to reveal perhaps the only person in the world who can save them at that moment. And out comes a dormant Plastic Man, who's shapeshifted in the form of an egg. Just in time too, because a crazed Metamorpho breaks out of his manacles moments later before passing out. This causes an energy surge inside Stagg's lab, which sends him, Sapphire, and Java flying off. Meanwhile, Mr. Terrific, Plastic Man, and Metamorpho are sucked into the portal just as it's about to close. Mr. T pleads with the sleeping Plaz to shield them from the energy surge. Luckily, the stretchy superhero wakes up and, still a bit dazed, swallows Mr. T and a now unconscious Metamorpho into his body like Monstro from Pinocchio. Inside Plaz, Metamorpho finally regains consciousness. Mr. Terrific reassures him Sapphire is safe. Meanwhile, Plaz isn't too happy that it took them all this time to wake him up, considering he went dormant for a while after their first visit to the Dark Multiverse. They eventually decide to work together when one of the T-spheres picks up a distress signal somewhere out in the Dark Multiverse. When they touch land though, they're shocked to discover that they're not actually standing on land. They're inside the rotting carcass of a dead, gigantic multiversal entity. Shortly after, spider-like creatures crawl out from the darkness to attack them. Plastic Man, Mr. Terrific, and Metamorpho fend them off. And just when they thought this day couldn't get weirder, a young woman who curiously has an intangible body approaches and tells the creatures to stop, and they obey her. She introduces herself as Linya Wazo, an extraterrestrial from the planet Big Ziddle with the power to become intangible. The problem is, she's trapped in this realm too. And to exacerbate the problem, she's stuck in her intangible form. Mr. Terrific asks her why she sent the signal, to which Linya responds that she has no idea what he's talking about. Suddenly, the T-spheres pinpoint the signal, and they find out it's coming from a machine tucked away in the corner of this gigantic carcass. Linya tells them that it doesn't work, but Mr. Terrific, being the genius that he is, manages to work out how to turn it on. And what they discover sets up an epic adventure through this dangerous, unexplored world. It's a message from Tom Strong, another superhero from an entirely different universe that's supposed to be separate from the DCU. Tom Strong's recording tells whoever sees his recording that he's most likely dead and that it's up to them to save the universe. What do you think about Tom Strong's introduction to the DCU? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you want to know what happens next in this terrific adventure, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time, guys. KRTV Marvel out.